Good morning. Good morning, good people. Today is Thursday. Wow, another week. Thursday, September 18th. September 18th, 2025. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning on probably a very nice morning here in southwestern Nevada, up in the mountainish sort of, but not really area west of Sin City, east of Death Valley, south of Area 51, as Nikki likes to say, that I refer to it as hard scrabble, sharp elbowed, pistol packing, rootin' tootin' people, where you can always tell somebody from Pahrump, you just can't tell them very much. So that's where we are. Great training ground, fertile ground. Great place to learn to grow, to understand humanity, to learn to grow. If we learn by making mistakes, the best place to learn is when you make a mistake, right? That's when you learn the most. So here we go. So this is Department of Career Services, where our goal is to help our students and other interested people on their journey through this life. We'll take the God part out of it for a second and say where during the podcast we focus on the physical, mental, and emotional parts of life. Weekends we focus on spiritual. Monday through Friday, physical, mental, emotional. And just to kind of sum those up, physical fitness and health. Take care of your body. Take care of what you ingest and digest. In today's world, with what Robert Kennedy is doing, we're finding out that a lot of what has happened in the last 50 years has been not good for people's health. Drugs, chemicals, food dyes, all kinds of stuff that taken in moderation are no big deal. But when you have them every day, all day long, not good. Having French fries once a month, no big deal. Having fried food 2 or 3 times a day, 6 days a week, big deal. So fitness and health. Take care of what you ingest and also be out there exercising the body. Mental, always be learning. ABC, always be learning. A, always be, B, C, learning. Always be learning. The world is changing ever faster. And emotional. This goes back to Greek philosophy, probably before that. But the basic thing we can sum it up to say that if you can't control your emotions, don't worry, somebody else will, and they'll probably take you out of the game. Most of the people in prison are there because they did something that they shouldn't have done, or they didn't do something they should have done. Somebody else controlled their emotions. It got them upset, or didn't get them motivated. They didn't care. So if you can't control your emotions, don't worry, somebody else will. And that's the perfect TED Talk. Kelly McGon about stress. Our friend stress. What's it called? Yes, stress. Good old stress. So we'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to look at the worksheet, our daily school worksheet right now. That's where the magic happens. Watching the podcast every day just helps build better habits. Creating a routine. Oh, I'm going to watch the TED Talk. I'm going to watch the podcast. Having a routine and then repetition, so that it becomes a habit, unconscious behavior, meaning you don't feel right if you don't do it. Something's off. It's kind of like how runners are. If they don't run, something's off. Or the rest of us regarding brushing our teeth. We don't have to consciously remember to do that. It's a habit we do, part of our daily routine. So we want to learn to build better routines. However, in this routine of watching the podcast, it's where we have the experts, one of whom is today's TED Talk presenter, Kelly McGonigal, who's what I call part of the Stanford gang, the Carol Dweck, Duckworth, Aaliyah Crum, that group of people. Again, talk more about that later. Seth Godin. Wow, friendship is a story, and it's a long story. How did we meet? What were we doing when we shifted from acquainted to friends? Who else is in our circle? How do we make space for each other, and how do we dance together toward our center? You've shown me who you really are, and I trust you enough to share my dreams and fears. I know the sound of your laugh before I start laughing, and you remember things about me that I sometimes forget about myself. They are inside jokes between us that no one else would understand. I remember you standing up for me, and I hope I've done the same for you. Can you count on me in the way I count on you? I'd miss you if you were gone. There you go. Friendship. Brands are not our friends, and most of them are simply acquaintances. But the most successful marketeers understand how deeply our emotional bond with friends runs and try to add some of those feelings. Manipulate the process, and you'll inevitably disappoint the very people you seek to serve. With their relentless push to humanize, brands have blurred the lines of connection and culture. But they've also reminded us that the stories we tell ourselves about our most important people are priceless and irreplaceable. Authenticity is impossible to measure, and so consistency carries us forward. What do we expect when we hear you knocking? What promises are you here to keep, and how often are they kept? Coming in October, 7 years ago, I worked with my friend, best-selling author Bernadette Chiwa, to launch the Story Skills Workshop. Bernadette has consistently helped people around the world get clear about the story they tell and the change they seek to make in all areas. She's running it again in October. Okay, cool, Daddy-O. Right, you are. So let's look at our worksheet again. Oh, advice from an 80-year-old. Remember, 80% of the success in any job is based on your ability to deal with people. That's a good thing to know. In fact, that's a really good one. I think I might use that at 9:30 this morning when I am out in Hendersgood. Right. Okay. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about stress. We all know the purpose of meditation and yoga is to reduce stress, because we all know that stress is bad, right? We all know that stress is bad. We have to do things, breathing exercises, etc., because stress is bad. Kelly McGonigal, second. Not so fast. George Bailey, is that his name? From the That Steve Martin movie. Something. Father, daughter's getting married. Father of the bride. Not so fast. Also famous for the line McCulloch. Okay. We all know stress is bad. But Kelly McGonigal says not so fast. Stress in itself, like a hammer, like a gun, like money, is not bad. Stress in itself is not bad. Stress is the body's natural reaction to certain things, real or perceived, certain perceived things. That's what stress is, the body's reaction. Some people react, have a lot high reaction. Other people, say like Navy SEALs, are trained to not have such a high reaction. Right? You don't want to panic unless you should. But basically you don't want to panic. But stress is the body's reaction to what's going on. So we control that. Like any other emotion, we want to be able to control it. But what is the good part about stress? So Kelly McGonigal says the good part about stress is it heightens our senses. Our blood vessels constrict, our heart beats faster, so that means we have our blood flowing faster, and thus anything in the blood is circulating faster. So if a neurotransmitter or hormone is released into our system, we will get the results of that faster if we're under stress. So if you're playing baseball, you might want to have a little bit of that in you circulating so you can respond quickly. When you're at the free throw line, you probably want to have less because you just want to relax and do what you've done a million times, fall through the hoop. Okay. So Kelly McGonigal says the statistics show that stress is bad on people who think that stress is bad. In other words, if you think stress is bad, it makes it worse. So, what is part of stress? What is a neurotransmitter associated with stress? Whoever said cortisol, ding, 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 winner. Cortisol is released in our system, and that's what makes us feel the way we feel when we are under stress. And maybe the way it technically works is we have a belief about something. There's a monster under my bed at night. I have a belief of that. And when I hear a sound that I think is coming from under my bed, whammo, I get the shot of cortisol. Just boom, instantaneously. Hear a sound, shot, something's under my bed. Senses heightened. I'm in a stressful situation now. My heart is beating faster. My blood vessels are constricting. And the more I think something's under my bed, the more upset, more stressed I'm getting. If I find out there is a monster under my bed, I'm ready to run or attack. I'm ready to fight or flight. Stress, good. Versus my blood pressure is low, my heart rate is low, and all of a sudden the monster comes over. I'm not ready. So, stress. Stress in itself is not bad. Stress is the body's natural response to what's going on, what we perceive to be happening. The bad part is if we think stress is bad because we will continue to release cortisol into our system. And as Kelly McGonigal points out, and yesterday Simon Sinek pointing out too much stress. No, Tuesday Simon Sinek talking about stress. Too much cortisol is bad because it turns off the immune system, tends to shut it down. Or he'll say you don't really need your fingernails growing when you're in a stressful situation. You don't need your immune system. You need to have all things focused on the threat. But if your immune system isn't really working, then you're likely to get sick. So we can find, if we are out there observant, we'll notice people. Some people are more upset than others, and they're probably less stress tolerant or more inclined to experience stress. They're less calm, more things bother them, maybe more agitated. Those are the people the statistics show are the ones that stress has the largest negative impact on. People who believe stress is bad. And we need to learn to recognize who those people are, because if we want to bond with them, if we want them to see the world the way we see it, we sometimes have to see it through their eyes, how they perceive it. So if somebody is not stress tolerant, gets stressed out a lot, and we can see the world through their eyes, can we dial in who we need to be in order to be effective with them? Perhaps, as Lucy would say. So part of the thing that Kelly McGonigal does is, that's a Leah Crum on stress test. Beep bop. Okay, so I noticed a couple people joined in. Hopefully you'll go back and rewind to see the stuff about stress, or go to the worksheet down below. Best thing would be to watch the TED Talk. Watch Kelly McGonigal break stress down into why, as a psychologist for 10 years, she'd been telling people stress is bad. Then she saw the reports and the statistics and found out, wait a second, stress is not bad. It's how we respond to stress that is good or bad. Stress in itself is our body's natural response to what we perceive around us, to what's going on around us. If we think that stress is bad, that will release even more cortisol. And when we release cortisol, some of the other functions in our body, like our immune system, doesn't work as well, because our attention, our energy is going into stress, what the stressful thing is. And when our immune system is compromised, we tend to get sick, or we feel tired, or not at top optimal pressure. So a thing we might do is adopt an attitude, and Atticus von Atticus could start using this as a thing, a self-belief, because our identity is made up of our self-beliefs. Adopt the self-belief that I don't get stress, I give stress. I don't get stress, I give it. And I think that would be true for Matt. I would think people might say, yeah, when Matt comes around, it's stressful. And yeah, right. Correct. That is true. So, okay, we're about time. We're at time. And let's see. That's about it for today, people. Thank you for being there. The main thing is create a program, repetition, repetition, repetition. Build better habits. That is the secret to life. Building better habits. Okay, with that, we're going to say and cut. See you tomorrow.